Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Opinionated Lushes Does Books and Booze, where we invite on indie authors to talk a little bit about their books, read a little segment of their books, and talk about the writing process. I'm going to pass it on to Dawn to introduce this week's author.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we have the lovely S.J. Magnolia joining us. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how long you've been writing? Do you have any pets? What are their names?
Oh, okay. Currently I live in Alberta.
Ooh.
I was born overseas, but I've been in Canada since 93.
Oh.
I have 3 kids, a 3-year-old granddaughter, 2 dogs, Anya and Cooper. They're little shits. I've been married to my best friend for 18 years. We've been together 24 and a half.
You're doing the math. You're like, oh,
the
man.
halves are important.
Basically, since like dinosaurs roam the fucking earth. But I've always loved writing. I did it, and I wrote poetry in high school to kind of deal with stuff that was happening at home. And then I just kind of put it on a back burner to be a mom and be at home full time and do all those things, be present. And it's funny how we think that way, because we're always like, well, we got lots of time. So, like I'll do the things and I'll be the mom and I'll do all, progress through life. I can just do this stuff later. So I put a lot of things off because I really wanted to be very hands-on with my kids. And then right before lockdown for COVID in 2020, I was diagnosed with lupus and inflammatory arthritis. So my whole, right before lockdown, they're like, here's some meds, here's what you have. Oh, by the way, we're going into lockdown. Now you got to process all this. So you kind of have to, and I've been really sick for about 5 or 6 years, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And it was really, really frustrating not having any answers. And then people sort of treating you like you were kind of imagining it. So during that process, I sat at home and I kind of thought over a lot of things. And I figured I think it was about time to be a little more selfish with the time that I do have. Because realistically, it's not promised anymore. Like, it's a foregone conclusion that, I won't live as long as I so stupidly thought I was going to before. And you have to change so many things. So I was like, well, I've always wanted to write a book. So I did. I always wanted to try hiking. So I hiked up a mountain. I bawled for about 10 minutes when I got to the top. A couple people thought I had lost my marbles. And then some lady walked up to me and asked me, why are you crying? And I kind of told her, I said, I didn't think that this was even remotely in the realm of a possibility for me before I found out I was sick. And I've done it. I'm standing here and I'm looking, and I can see off in the far distance where the parking lot is, it's like a tiny little dot. I said, and I did it. And then she starts crying. She hugs me. Then we start laughing. And then it was a whole moment with this complete and utter stranger on the top of this bloody mountain. And I got a picture when I got there. And when I came down, I took the picture to my tattoo artist, and I started having my memories tattooed on my body so that I would remember these things. So I've got a tattoo of my first hike.
That's
my second hike, and all of these on my right arm are my memories that I have made in the last, what year is it? 23 years.
That's amazing.
That math. That is fantastic.
What year is it again? This year's flown by so freaking fast.
Yeah.
I can't get over it. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Is I thought, why the fuck not? So I did.
Yeah.
That's great, though. That's an amazing, inspiring story to like get yourself out there.
Like,
It's a scary thing. And you know, like a lot of authors, like indie authors, self-published authors, traditional published authors, you know, they write because it's a joy, it's a thing, they want to make a career out of it, they want to, you know, be able to quit that full-time job and just stay home and write their stories. And I always felt like a little different, kind of like on the outside, because that wasn't ever my reasoning to do it. It was, I want to be able to say that I wrote a book, and I followed through with it, and I did it. I don't necessarily want a career out of it. If I got one out of it, then that's fantastic. That's great. That's amazing. But it was more I just want to be able to say that I did it, and hold it in my hand and have, like, you know, that substantial proof of something that I had done and followed through with. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
yeah.
That's amazing, though.
Do you have your book tattooed on you?
No, not yet. So we're doing a different piece, because it's kind of led me down a road that I didn't think it would take. So like when I started, I was like, okay, well, I'll write the book, I'll do a little bit of marketing. If it does well, it does well. If it doesn't, that's okay. My heart's not going to be broken, because I'm not in it for the same reasons that a lot of authors are doing it. But it just kind of took kind of a little bit of a life of its own. People that I thought that would really support me and be there and like jump on the whole, you know, like woohoo, weren't, if you know what I mean. And then people that in my wildest dreams I would never ever think they would write my book, let alone or read my book, get a hold of me, reach out to me, and loved it, did. So it kind of led to me, you know, putting myself out there a little bit more. I don't like my picture taken. It's very rare you will catch me on a camera in front of anything. That's just, I'm feeling brave today. Liquid courage and all.
Yeah, liquid
we're so
courage
proud.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the story that you're going to be reading for us today?
Oh, sure. So the Fall of Baba Yaga is about Anya Gorbachev. She is the daughter of the Bakan. It's based out of Las Vegas. And so Baba Yaga is essentially a Russian fairy tale. She was a witch that lived in the woods on a hut that had chicken legs for the base of her house, and it would move all over, and she was either helpful or she wasn't. But she was told as a bedtime story to children to scare them into behaving. Like, if you don't behave, Baba Yaga is going to come and get you. So essentially like our boogeyman kind of thing. I've always been fascinated with the folklore, and I have noticed that a lot of romance books have amazing stories, great male MMCs, great female MCs, but they all essentially follow kind of the same like storyline, like girl meets guy, they fall in love, she changes a lot of things. It's like a foregone conclusion kind of thing. Like, you know, essentially where it's, and I wanted Anya to be messier than that. So she is Baba Yaga. So she essentially kills people for her father. If you cross him, then you meet Baba Yaga and you're dead. Like, you don't ever, whatever. And along comes this Irish MMA fighter that's come to Vegas to fight in her dad's casino, and he sends her to babysit. And it's hands off, like, you don't touch him, you don't whatever, you're to watch him, get him from point A to point B, and that's it. And he's essentially told the same thing. And she gets to know him on a level that she doesn't know other people. And then she starts kind of thinking, because he's very different from her. He's got very different values, very different thought processes. Like, he grew up completely different from her. And she starts to kind of question some of the things that she's done. And there's a lot of backwards deals. And the man that she's sort of betrothed to is like a disgustingly brutal dickwad that you absolutely hate. And it's messy and gritty, but I ultimately wanted her to choose him, not need him, not whatever. It had to be a choice for her.
Not have to rely on him. Like,
exactly.
Like,
she doesn't need his ass to do it. Like, it has to be a choice for her. And it all leads up to a moment where she's given an option. Bratva is essentially, and to this day, they still exist. They're still out there. They still run there, whatever. It's forever. The only way you get out is if you're dead.
Yeah.
So there's a choice that she's going to have to make. You'll have to read it to find out what she chooses. But she's given a choice. It's her loyalty to the Bratva or to this newfound life and conscience that she didn't realize that she had.
Sounds good.
I'm excited
Sonia,
to hear
do
some.
you have the words?
I do. So we have fate, father, and the word that's going to get us super crap-faced, I.
I didn't know if you'd actually pick that word because I like read through it and I was like, oh God.
We picked
like,
all words.
they might be extremely intoxicated by the end of that one.
I don't see the problem.
Yeah,
There's no problem.
It's not an issue.
We're in our houses. It's okay. Like, really, what trouble could we get into?
My bed is right there. Perfect.
Can you just nosedive it? Have a good night. Nice speaking to you.
Exactly. I have to walk over my dogs, but besides that, it's right safe.
Just get them to walk you over there. Just be like, Rocky.
My
come
one
here.
dog can. Yeah, my one dog is 150 pounds, and like,
oh
he's
my God.
tall. I could ride him like a pony. He could carry me. Perfect.
Just lay over the back of them like a sack of potatoes and be like, that way.
Yeah, perfect.
Alrighty,
Okay.
so we're gonna mute our mics because we don't want you having to hear us slurp during this reading, and you're gonna read, and we're gonna get drunk.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. So I'll be reading from chapter 1. This is from Anya's point of view. And she says, I have never believed in fate. Fate is for fools who believe in love at first sight. Fools who believe that because monsters don't hide under the bed, they don't exist. I've always scoffed at such nonsense, even though the events leading up to my fall from grace could be considered just that. I have had something of a grudge against destiny, ever since the fates were cruel enough to make me the sole female heir to my father's empire. He had wanted a son, and longed for a baby boy to pass his blood-stained crown to. Instead, he had me. Someday soon I will be forced to marry a man of my father's choosing. Punishment for being a woman, or just how things are done. It's not up to me to question these things. I suppose you could call that fate as well. Nobody sees me as anything other than a woman who should know her place. I'm the daughter and only child of Anatoly Gorbachev, Pecan of the Bratva, one of the most ruthless, unyielding mafia bosses to ever rule. His precarious position has given me many names. To him, I am Anya. His business associates, both the legitimate and the less savory, simply call me Gorbachev's daughter. To them, I'm just a pretty face, his princess. Little do they know that behind this pretty face, I am just like my father. Fearless, cunning, ruthless, and unyielding. You will never see me coming. To those who unfortunately cross my father, I go by another name altogether. If we meet in the dark of night, my face will be the last one you will ever see. I am Baba Yaga. I may not live in a hut with chicken legs, but I am far more dangerous. Baba Yaga can be a help or a hindrance, a curse or a boon. I imagine she is similar to what you Americans would call the boogeyman. Only I am real. If you are sent to me, there is no second chance. It will be your execution. In our circles, word travels on wings. Rumors and gossip fly especially fast. They say my father shed a tear when I was born. They say I'm a cold bitch with no heart. Perhaps they are right. I keep people at a distance, and I have never lost sleep over the things I have done. I serve my father with unquestionable loyalty. After strapping my kunai knives to my thigh, I run my fingers over the dresses in my closet. Most of them are red, tasteful corals to deep, lush crimson tones. Blood money bought them, so it seems only fitting. Choosing a blood-red knee-length dress, I slip it on and pair it with stiletto heels. Mask on, I need to prepare for the performance. Today, my father has me smiling and schmoozing an up-and-coming fighter coming to Vegas for a shot at a title match. My father has several investments, and this faceless and most likely obnoxious fighter is his latest one. If it has the potential for profit, Anatoly's in on it, whether it's fighting, hotels, casinos, or prostitution. Most of Vegas's economy is connected to him in one way or another. As I grab my leather jacket, phone, and keys, I can't seem to shake this gut feeling that I'm unprepared for what's next. In my line of work, I've come to trust my instincts. They're never wrong, and they've saved me more than once. As I step onto the elevator of my penthouse suite, I can't help thinking my life is about to change. I hope I'm ready for it.
I finished a drink already.
Yeah. I was burping a lot during. I was like, oh shit.
Oh, that was drink level expert.
Yes, we love it.
It was like chug, chug, chug.
I was thinking of you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
We appreciate so much.
I thought you might.
So, is this your first novel?
It is.
How long did it take you to write it?
It took me, I'd say probably about the 2 years. Just with adjustments to medications, lifestyle, all the ups and downs of my disease it was in waves. So I'd have a good portion where I'd just go hard and write. And then I'd have to take a little while to kind of recharge, and then I come back at it. And the second book is coming along a lot quicker. That should be releasing next year. So that's coming right away. And then there also are a few characters in the first book that will be getting their own story later. I don't tell anybody. I want to see if they can actually guess. And it's been really, really cool because I'll get messages and they're like, if they don't get their own story, I'll be really mad. And I'm like, well, that's not who I was planning on it. But I gave enough information about each of the core people that you meet that they could get their own story later. But there is one gentleman in there that you will meet that's a little bit of a helper. He's going to get his own story along with his 4 brothers.
Ooh.
So they'll be next after book 2.
Nice.
Ooh, I like that.
Do you have any other unpublished, half finished things you're working on?
I actually wrote my memoirs. They are just about done. The cover is picked. You guys would it would totally be right up your alley. I was in a designer group and they do pre-mates or whatever, and she had a sale and I was just kind of skimming through and I saw it and I was like, yep, that's the one. That's the one. I'll take that one, please. Right now. Hit the checkout button as fast as I bloody could. And then when I showed everyone, they just laughed because they were like, yep, that's the one. I also wrote 3 children's books. I'm looking for a new illustrator. And they're going to be Adventures with Gammy. It's all about me becoming a grandma for the first time, and all the stuff that we do together and whatever. So the first 3 is her birth, and then her first Halloween and her first Christmas.
Oh,
So those are completely done. And the illustrator is using actual photos. So they are actually me and her, just kind of whatever. And like her birth, all the crazy fun things that we do together are going to be in this series. And then, so while writing book 2, I had an idea for a fantasy romance, which is something different for me anyway. But it nagged at me and nagged at me and nagged at me. And then I just happened to enter a couple contests. I have like the worst luck ever. And then by like some miracle, I like won both. So I won the cover for the fantasy book. So it's done. And then I also won a map that'll be done for me for the inside of the book.
Books. Oh my!
Yeah, so it'll have its own map in the first like 2 pages or whatever. So that's been drawn up. It's got to get sent off to him, and it's a whole thing. I think I bit off more than I can chew, to be perfectly honest.
I love maps in books because it really helps with the world building.
Yes, I do too.
Right?
I really liked it. I was like, and I think that's what came to me first was like I could see like where she lived, like the surroundings or whatever, and the idea just nagged at me and nagged at me and nagged at me until I just opened another window on my Word and just kind of plopped it all in there, like brain dumped it so I could actually get back to what I was supposed to be doing. So the plot's there, the characters are there. It's all point form, ready to go. I think it's going to be my Nano project this year for NaNoWriMo. I'll probably start that because book 2 will be finished. It's just going to be a wait to get into the editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some family stuff this year that kind of derailed my timeline.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to get it to the editor at the beginning of September, like when it was available. And my editor, she's amazing. She's book solid. So for the rest of the year. So I have to wait until next year now to get it in, but it'll be done, ready, and good to go.
Okay. I was just gonna ask, just because we were talking about like the maps, and then we were also talking about characters. What do you find to be more difficult, character development or world building?
I think probably a little bit of both, maybe. I write how I talk, so it's thank God my editor can like read between the lines. Like I was born overseas, so I'm English. I don't have a accent anymore. But so I have that like dry humor, you know what I mean? And it's like I'm very sarcastic, but everything plays out in my head. So when I'm writing, I essentially just write like it's coming to me, like it's playing through. So sometimes it doesn't quite
translate
well. So like she'll have to like write me and be like, what the fuck does that even mean, Sarah? Like, what does that even mean
here?
Because it'll be like a slang term that I am used to saying, but I'm like writing Canadian.
Yeah.
But then in the back of my head, I'm like worried that it won't translate to American. So she says like sometimes it's all over the board because I'm talking like an English person, writing like a Canadian person, and then every once in a while I'll remove a letter so it looks American. She's like, can you just pick a language and like which one do you want me to stick with? And I'm like, well, just go with American English and then it'll go straight across the board. But like every once in a while, she has to email me back and be like, what does that mean? Like, what in God's name did you mean by that? And then I'll explain it. And she's like, oh, well, let's pick maybe a different word choice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Let's rephrase that a little.
Let's make it understandable to the masses, please.
So as you said, you're Canadian and you have an editor. Being Canadian, was it hard to find your editor and like your illustrator for your covers and all that?
Yeah, it is. And it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear.
It's expensive. There's a lot of things that I think people don't realize when you are an indie author and you are self-publishing, like just how much is on you to do. When you're looking for an editor, you have to be able to find someone. It's not just find an editor and woo, you're done. Like you have to find someone that's going to gel with you, understands your personality, can distinguish your voice in your writing, and then not take away from it, but help enhance it, if that makes any sense. Like my editor, we talked for quite a bit before I did like hire her on. And I did send her like a sample piece so that she could read it, so she could kind of tell what kind of a writer I was and what kind of a person I was. And like, we just wanted to make sure it was a really, really good fit. Because I have had friends of mine that have just sort of taken the first author or editor that they could find that was affordable for them. And it just wasn't a very good relationship. Like they weren't very happy with how their book was edited. They felt like it didn't sound like them by the time it was done. Like there's lots of things that people don't, the two biggest pieces of advice I got was never cheap out on a good editor and never cheap out on a good cover. Like everything else you can learn yourself, like the marketing, the whatever, you can figure that out. But those are two things that you should never, ever, ever chimp out on. Because your book will be what catches the reader's attention, and your writing is what's going to keep them there. So like it's like a mute point. Like you have to make sure that you cover those two bases for sure.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good advice. That was my next question. So
what advice do you give an author? Yeah.
No, what advice have you received? That
was my two biggest things was, don't cheap out on a good editor and don't cheap out on a cover.
That's really good advice. Like that, because it's obvious once you say it, right? Like what it's, you don't think about it, but it's it's obvious advice.
Oh, I mean, I find a lot of advice is obvious advice.
Right.
But
After
it's
you hear it, right?
right. Like we ask a lot of the authors, what advice would you give to new indie authors? And most of it is right.
That's
just right.
Which is obvious, but it's like also like, no, but for sure you need to make sure you fucking write, you know?
Yeah. You can't.
And another thing is don't self-edit your first draft. I was so bad the first book, like the first little while. I just kept rereading like the first little bit, and then I would tweak it, and then I add to it, and then I'd walk away, come back a little bit later, and then I'd add to it, but I'd read the first part again to get reacquainted, and then I was tweaking it, and I was like, why is this taking so fucking long?
Yeah.
And my editor was like, stop doing that. Like, the first draft is a dumpster. Like, it's shit. You just have to get it in your head and like get over it. The first draft is never good. And that goes for any author on this planet, from a newbie to a New York Times bestselling author. Your first draft is always shit. That's why it's called a first draft.
Yeah.
So she said, like, just write it down. It doesn't matter if it's not making sense or if it's a little out of order. It's whatever. It's just get it all down on the paper as fast as you can to get it out. And then you go back in and start breaking it up and fixing where you think it needs to be fixed or whatever else.
Yeah.
Don't take 20 times longer than you should, like I did.
So you said that like you were interested in doing fantasy. How many genres like would you say you're comfortable doing or that you want to try?
I don't think it was a matter of like, I didn't consciously choose to like try fantasy. It was more the idea came to me and wouldn't go away. Kind of thing. Like, it just, like, it would not go. It naggled at me for about a week and a half before I finally was like, okay, I got it. I'll write it down, and then we'll come back to it later when I'm done the book that I need to be working on right now.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm honestly, I'm not above writing anything. I think the only thing that scares me, I will be completely honest, is historical romance. I love historical romance. I love it. I love it. I love it. I am a huge fan of it. But where I am right now, I don't think I could do it justice. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot of research and a lot of time and to be accurate. I don't like historical romances that you read and you can tell that they just took like the bare minimum to make it fit the story and then like schlepped it kind of together. Like, I am like a diehard. I want to know like all the shit. Like, I want to know the nitty gritty, the honesty of the times. Like, I want it. If you're going to talk about 1692, then I want to know about 1692. So I think that's the only subgenre of romance that I think I would be afraid to dabble in. I think that would be like maybe a way later thing.
Yeah. When you have the
If
time,
ever.
right? Because you have to do that research. Like, I think that's why I wouldn't even attempt that. Because if you get one thing wrong, someone's going to find it. And
Someone will find
it. Make sure you know that you are wrong.
What era would you write?
There was one thing actually in the Baba Yaga book. I had done research and Google was a liar.
Oh no.
Google lied?
Google lied to me. And a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine that's in agriculture, she was like, Sarah, that's not actually like the tool to full on that full on does that. And I'm like, yeah, but if you enter into Google what you're looking for, that's what it tells you it is. I'm like, so in my defense, it was Google's fault.
Yeah, but
only someone with a background in agriculture is gonna bloody know that was a faux pas.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what's gonna happen, right? That's the person that's gonna find it and tell you, and you'd be like, crap. Like, you'd be leaving Google because, Google.
Yeah, I opened it and I was like, she's like, Sarah, I just want to let you know. And I knew right then, I'm like, oh God, what did I do? And then I read it and I was like, fucking Google.
Yeah.
Lying.
Google.
Lying, fucking Google. But no, like, I did a lot of research into the Bratva. Mafia has always really, really fascinated me. It's a little bit morbid. Like, I probably should get my head checked, maybe just a little bit. But I love the nitty gritty of it. And I love that they were so ruthless and deadly and evil, but the loyalty that they had for their families and their wives and their children. And Like it was so contradictory to the things that they did. Like they could go out in the morning, shoot a couple guys, break a couple kneecaps, and they're home for dinner because if they're 5 minutes late, their mama and their wife are going to whoop their asses. And they're like, no, I have to be home for 5. Like, you don't fucking mess with mom. Like, I gotta go home.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like the names of the characters in my book are actual names of Bratva members through history. I've essentially just switched first names and last names and done 2 first names with 2 last names. I've done it that way. I don't want to end up in a 6-foot hole anywhere. Like, don't come for me.
Canada is like, where is she?
Don't come for me. There actually is Bratva in Canada.
There is.
You don't hear about it, but there is. They're everywhere. I had to learn what they were into, how their dealings were, how their hierarchy works. The only piece of my book that I guess you can say is truly fictional is Anya wouldn't have the position that she had in the story in real life. Yeah. If she was born to the Bakan, she basically would have had her betrothal to his right-hand man who would take his seat in the family. Yeah. She wouldn't have had any importance or significance because she is female. Yeah. So that's the only real, truly fictional part of it. But
no, that's great. I love Mafia. I'm on a Mafia kick right now, actually.
Right about Irving.
Who is your favorite author?
Oh God, I have too many. Oh God.
Top 5 then.
Right now.
Yeah, today.
Oh, right now, today. Okay. Well, I guess I'll go with what I'm reading. So like I read arcs for people. Like I think that's the biggest contradictory about me is like I am writing and I am an author or whatever, but I am the hugest like book nerd ever. I love books. I love featuring authors on my blog. I love talking about authors. I love talking about books. I am I will be your cheerleader for like anything. You need me in your corner. I am your girl. I will be there. I will be loud. I will be intrusive. You'll probably, like be a little bit embarrassed, but I will be there. So I just finished an arc for Sarah Jaeger. It's a shifter romance. So Smoke was the first one, and then the second book is Lena's story, and she ended up making it a duet for her story. That was just the way it came to her. So I read Hayes was first, and then Blaze was second. I think that's how it worked, or the other way around. Either way, it's you get what I'm saying. Anyway, it was so good. It's like shifter royalty. It's nitty. It's gritty. It's dirty. It's got all the goods. Like I devoured them in like a couple days. And then I just finished the 3rd book of the Binding Chronicles by Elena R. Gallia. She's a fellow Canadian. Ooh. It's a fantasy. It's about a human that is forced into marriage with a vampire prince. And it's like bloody intrigue. There's magic, there's fae, there's lots of blood. Lots of blood. And she is a nerdy like bookworm human that gets like thrown into this shit, and his mother, the queen, is his maker, and she's like pure evil incarnate. So good. I arc read all 3 of those, and like and then Cassie Alexander, I just finished the arc for her 3rd one. I arc read all 3 of hers as well. Hers is like a Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling.
Okay.
And then like the Beast has a little creature. He's the mix between a cat and a spider. and he's like super, super cute. She's got him on like stickers and pillows, and I'm like,
Aw.
and then I did cave and I read the Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros.
Yes,
That's a
read
big
that.
one. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it is.
I was putting it off. Like, I'm one of those people that if it is extremely hyped up, I will run as fast as I can in the opposite ass direction because I'm not a hype girl. Like, I still haven't read the Bridgerton books. I haven't even watched the show, to be perfectly honest, because
I
Same,
watched the
same.
show. I haven't read the books.
I haven't done either, so
yeah, like I actually got to meet Julia Quinn last September when I was in San Diego with my friend who was an attending author at a historical romance retreat.
Okay.
That was awesome. If you guys ever get the chance to go to one, go to one. It was 4 days of like, they had classes during the day and then each night had a different event. Like, there was a wigs and wenches night. I dressed up like a wench and I got taxed for my décolleté.
I love that.
I got taxed. There was gambling, there was drinking, and then they had a Scottish Gaelies, so everyone was in their kilts and dresses, and we danced. And then we had on the Saturday was the big book event, so they let the public in for that too, so you could meet all of your favorite authors. I got to meet an author that I've been reading for years, so I kind of fangirled a little bit. And then I got to meet Julia Quinn, and I felt like such a noob because she was like, "Oh, have you read the books?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Have you seen this?" She's like, "Have you seen the show?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Oh," she's like, "Can I ask why?" And I'm like, there's so much attention on it right now that I don't want to be let down. Like,
Yeah.
I hate when things get hyped up so much and then you have these big, huge expectations and then you go in and you're like, what the fuck, guy?
Yeah.
I
Like,
hate when something
no.
gets so hyped up from like a certain author and then they turn out to be a piece of shit. Like,
Yes!
like Harry Potter.
She's like, fair enough. I said, so when it dies down a little bit, then I'll visit it or whatever. But with Fourth Wing, it took me like 4 months to get a copy of the damn book, like, because it was sold out everywhere.
Everywhere.
So
Everywhere.
I had to like basically do this the entire time I was on Instagram and TikTok because you fucking assholes were all spoiling it for me. So I'm like, as soon as it read Fourth Wing in the caption, I'm like, keep going. You're not going to ruin this for me.
Cover, go.
Go. And then 52 videos later, I'm like, is somebody talking about anything else? Like anything. Come on. But I read it and it did live up to the hype. I'm hands down. I loved it. Good. I even, a friend of mine even had a dragon 3D printed for me to sit on my book. So I get it tomorrow.
That's exciting.
So, yeah, I totally
Sonia,
nerded
I know
out.
what I want for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. You want a 3D printed dragon? I got a big black one. I'll send you guys pictures. Like you got to see this thing. I am so excited for this. I'm like, I'm not 12, but I'm a grown ass woman. But I'm like, I want a 3D dragon. Can I have a 3D dragon?
I love dragons. I love anything fantasy.
I have a giant dragon tattooed on my back.
That is awesome. Yeah, so it was up to the hype, but I will read just about anything. I can devour just about anything as long as it's got like a good story, a good baseline. And I can usually tell in the first chapter if it's something that I'm going to enjoy or I'm not going to enjoy. And if you haven't gotten me by the end of the first chapter, then I can't finish it. I just won't.
You just put it down, walk away.
I just put it down and I'll just no. And then I have had, I think 1 or 2 books in the entire time I've been reading that I have gotten maybe halfway through, and something about the way they wrote a situation. Like, I don't have very many triggers. Like, I can handle just about anything, but I think it's how you write it, I think, is what makes the difference. And there was I think the way it was written, I was very, like, it was ick. Like, it was ick. Like, I was like, that makes me actually feel a little bit sick
to the stomach. Yeah.
I'm like, I can't finish that. But that's happened very, very rarely.
Fair though. Fair.
Oh yeah.
Were you like always a writer? I know you like talked about why you waited so long to actually like finish a book, but did you write as a child? Was writing always your artistic outlet, I guess?
Along with the poetry you did in high school, was there other types of writing you did?
Like
I wrote a story, I think in elementary, that they bound in a book for me, like, you know, with the little plastic coil things on the side.
Yeah, I remember doing one of those too.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, it was right before actually I moved here to Canada. I'd written a book and they had bound it for me, and I still have it. It's in my box or whatever with my name on it, with all my childhood stuff on it. I've always been very creative. I think that was kind of like my outlet. My dad was British military. So his last deployment was, he got back right before we moved here. And the man
Did you ever live on the Edmonton base?
No, we lived in Medicine Hat. And he was out at Suffield.
Okay, I was military brat and I lived on the Edmonton base.
Oh, yeah, no, we just lived in Medicine Hat in the housing that they had there.
Yeah.
I might have visited it maybe when I was like a lot younger, but I never know.
Small.
Yeah, it's just my dad, like, the man that came back wasn't my dad anymore. So he left shortly after, and I had to become the adult. That was just the way it is. My mom wasn't mentally there anymore and couldn't take care of anybody, let alone herself. So I had to become an adult and grow up very, very quickly. So I had to figure out ways to kind of express what I was feeling and what I was thinking. And so I took to creating. So I drew, I wrote poetry, I taught myself how to scrapbook, and then it just sort of progressed from there. So I taught myself how to sew, taught myself how to build furniture. I'm basically one of those people that don't ever tell me no.
That's great.
It never works out well for you.
Yeah.
Like my husband, you'd think he'd have learned this by now, but he still has not.
They never learn.
They always learn last.
Don't ever
last.
I am one of those people that you tell me no and I'm like, bet.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted. So people always, boys in high school were always like, oh, girls don't know how to do that. Girls don't know how to do that. Or girls shouldn't do that. And I'm like, okay, well,
bet it, bitch. Bet. Say less.
So it was, and then I got a really good business out of it eventually. I learned how to, use tools and do woodworking, and I sell a bunch of stuff that I make. And yeah, it's just anything creative, anything that can help me use my hands, use my mind, it's peaceful for me. I will try just about anything. The only thing I can't do is I can't knit and I can't crochet.
I have been taught 30 times, no lie. My mother-in-law is always reteaching me, and knitting and crocheting is a skill that I just can't pick up. It's ridiculous.
It's funny because I can knit, can't crochet. No idea.
Well,
Knitting easy peasy though.
I'm left-handed. So like, and everyone I know is right-handed, so they're trying to teach me, and I'm like, that just looks ass backwards to me. Like, can you?
Oh, because it is.
Yeah.
Okay, for knitting, you have to remember you're stab him in the chest, throw him over a cliff, strangle him, and then you gotta stab again. It helps remember.
I do. You know, I think, by Christmas, I'll be like a knitter. I'll be like, what are you doing, honey? Oh, I'm stabbing him. I'm
Stabbing him over the cliff, strangling him.
I think he might be a little bit concerned then.
I do that. I don't know what it's called, but like it's like a circle, and like it's like corking, I guess it's called. Like, and you just there's like,
oh yeah, you do the weaving.
Yeah. Is it weaving?
Yeah,
it's a circle, and then you like there's
and
like the
goes down in the jaw.
Yeah, like a snake, right? Yeah, it comes out like the snake.
Yeah.
You just make snakes. I don't know what it's called.
I can only make snakes.
I can only make snakes. I have like bags and bags of snakes I end up with.
You're like, it's a scarf. It's just a really skinny, long snake.
That's what they're calling it nowadays. I got a bag full of snakes. Don't let me. Those are just my snakes.
Yes. Don't go in that drawer. It's my snakes.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm on to you, ladies. I have got the code down now. If they're talking about snakes, they're not talking about snakes.
So I just found my new business venture. I'm gonna make this snake, and they're gonna be dildo hats. That's amazing.
Dildo covers. The snake covers. That's what you can even call them. I make snake covers.
That's fantastic. I'm gonna do it on TikTok. I'll just start here.
Yeah, start selling snake covers.
Does your snake need a body cover? Here you go.
Yeah, perfect.
People would buy it, actually. You know that, right? Like,
what? Yeah, you go through airport security, and he'd be like, "What the hell is all this? Those are snake covers."
Yeah. Do you want one, sir?
Do you want one?
Is your
No
snake
more,
cold?
no more turtle for you. Here's a snake cover. No embarrassment ever again. Oh, you should put that in the infomercial. Again.
Perfect.
And he hasn't even drank as much as you guys.
Ooh.
I can't believe we're going to put this on YouTube.
Yes.
yes. YouTube's going to be in with the party.
Well, I'm out of questions. Does anyone else have any last minute questions?
I don't know this new business venture now. What are you going to call it? Slippery snake covers?
Snake.
Snuggle warmers?
Snake.
I don't know.
Maybe like cozy. I don't know, something that's like sex toy, like so they don't like bang together. Like they protect them. They don't get like dinged up when you're traveling with them. Like
snake protectors. Like they're
snake
like
dildo knitted condoms. Yeah, friendly. Don't use present. That's not good. Don't use those, ladies. That's not something if a man comes to you.
That's a little chafing.
That's just a mess. That's not good. That's how you end up asking for child support. Do not use a knitted cover.
Boy math.
You got the hiccups.
I do. That's why I'm like, oh no, I can't talk because I'm just gonna hiccup and burp at the same time. Oh my god. This would be a great time for you to do out your promos.
Yeah, where can we find you, Sarah?
Well, ladies and gents, this is my book. You can find it on Amazon. I'll get my shit together. The link tree is at the bottom. You can find it everywhere. You can find my socials. Jesus Christ. And if you need a snake warmer for your toy while you're reading it, you just need to see one of these.
All the links will be in the description below.
Everything. You're good.
You guys.
Oh, and I can 3D print hooks for it. So like when you're not like, you know, like they'll look like a banana fruit stand, but it'll be to hold your like thing. Like you put your dildo in the snake holder and it'll have a hook. And you can yeah. That's perfect. There you go.
Holder and covers box set.
Okay, I can't breathe.
Thank you so much, SJ Magnolia, for the wonderful merch ideas.
I do what I can. I do what I can.
Market it.
Market it. I don't even have an open right now. So
I'll do a book box, and everyone could get a small cover that matches.
Perfect. We'll just make dick sleeves for every genre.
Dick sleeves, every genre. Yeah.
Every shot.
You want a dragon, like snake sleeve? I got you.
I don't know if I'm making a
I know a guy.
Don't promise.
It'll accommodate every size.
Yeah, you got.
You can even like name it after the genres. You'd be like, you got your monster snake sleeve, you got your dragon snake sleeve, you got your wiggly worm snake sleeve. Like we got you covered.
We got you covered. Oh wink. Oh wink.
Your alien green if you're suddenly into that. Like we got you.
It's blue.
Oh, it's the blue now. Okay,
Yeah.
well we're not doing green anymore.
Yeah, green so last season. We're into blue.
Well, aren't the orcs green?
No, they're blue, I thought. Or no, wait.
Orcs are like gray, aren't they? Orcs are usually gray.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know.
I know. I saw a romance cover on TikTok, and it was like a green looking dude with like the horns.
We'll have to.
Which, mind you, like I would be a little bit concerned about those
Right?
things.
Extra piercings on your like little meat curtains. Oh my god! What if
Yeah.
you got stuck? Like he's like down there and like
impaled your lips, and you're like stuck wide open like this the rest of your life.
like after you have kids, they can like stretch a little further. You know, like they're gone. Like it's not good.
Fucking kid.
Yeah, fucking kids.
Fucking kids.
I love you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean this. Don't listen to your mother.
No, that's literally what I say every day. I love you and I'm sorry. Jeez, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I need to go to bed, you guys.
I know. I was gonna say thank you so much.
Aren't you? Yeah, you guys are 2 hours ahead of me.
I'm
at 11.
Yeah,
she's 11. We're
she's
10.
a little old, like more farther. She's a maritime provincer.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's 8:00. It's 8:00 for me.
It's still early for you. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on. Like that was.
Thank you for having me.
That was such an like the way you look at writing is very insightful. Like the idea of it, just like you're not using it as like a career, but more of just like this is your creative outlet in total, and whatever happens is such a refreshing way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like a new view, right? Like it's just I love it. Yeah.
So yeah, like I didn't do it so that I'd be like, you know, a New York Times or whatever get on any kind of list. If I did, you know, like woohoo, yay. But that's not kind of my thing. It was I wanted to do it for the pure joy of doing it and to say that I did it. And it was like a bucket list kind of, I did it.
Woo! You did it. You did it. You wrote a book. That's more than I can say. So I'm always like so impressed. Like every time we have a guest on Books and Booze, I'm always like, you guys wrote a book. Like that's huge. So congratulations.
And I think another thing that a lot of people don't realize is anyone can write a book. Anyone can write a book. If you have an idea, a thought, a story that you think needs to be told, whether it's your story or a different story or whatever, anyone can write a book. Just do it. It doesn't need to be something that if you don't want to if you don't even want it out in the world, don't. Just get it printed, have that for yourself, for that, like just to say you did it. It was a labor of love. I wanted to be creative. I wanted to do this and I did it.
That's right.
It doesn't have to go any further than that.
Yes, like that's a big thing. Is everyone thinks creativity out, like being creative needs to be sold. It needs to be like if it's not
That's capitalism propaganda.
Right?
You don't get it twisted.
It's not good, right? Yeah. So it's just because
you can
people are buying it. Yes, you can create without it being
create for creativity's sake.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah,
guys.
this was so much fun.
Too.
So again, you can
I'm
find
hang out with you ladies again.
Of course.
Yeah.
As soon as your next one comes out.
Yeah, book 2. You're coming back.
Come
Book 2,
on
yeah.
back.
Deal. Done.
Yeah, and so all your links are going to be in the description for all of our listeners. So thank you so much for being on, and we'll see you all next Thursday with another indie author. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.